So we are now starting section 6.1. We're about halfway through our Algebra 1 curriculum. Section 6.1 is going to pick up exactly where we ended Unit 5. We started talking about the slope-intercept form in Unit 5 toward the end. And in Unit 5, what we did was mostly graph equations. If you recall, the slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So that's what goes in your first blank. Now, all we did in Unit 5 was graph equations. In Unit 6, we're going to do the reverse, and we're actually going to write equations. Now, how you write them will be determined by what information you're starting with. But your end result will be an equation in slope-intercept form. So let's do a quick example that should kind of get you warmed up. You saw this a little bit in Unit 5 where they wanted you to identify the slope and the y-intercept. Well, in Unit 5, I gave you the equation and you pulled out your slope and y-intercept. Well, I know it's been a while since you thought about this, so let's remind ourselves what the slope and y-intercept are in our equation. Your variable b is always the y-intercept. That's going to be the point on the y-axis. When you have a linear function, or in your case you say a straight line, that straight line, unless it's a special case, will always cross the y-axis one time. Let's just say y-axis. It will always cross the y-axis at one time, and that point is what we call the y-intercept. Your slope is our m, and our slope can be found different ways. You can use your rise over run, or you can use your slope formula, depending on the information. Push this just a little closer so you can see. There you go. So this is what we're working with. We learned this a few weeks ago, and now we're just going to expand on it. But like I was saying, in Unit 5, I would give you the equation, and you would pull out the slope and the y-intercept. In this case, I'm going to give you the slope and y-intercept, and you have to write the equation because that's our theme for this unit, writing linear equations. So for example 1, let's say that I told you the slope was equal to -7, and the y-intercept is +8. So that's the numbers that you would put in the blank. Well, this is simple. My slope, if I give it to you, that's my m. The y-intercept, if it's given to you, that's your b. So to write the equation in slope-intercept form, you simply substitute in these values for your m and your b. So for letter A, your equation is y equals -7x plus 8. Easy. For the next one, I think that should be letter B. Let's say that your slope is +4 and your y-intercept is 0. Okay, well your slope, that's your m, and your y-intercept is b. But think about it, your b is 0, which means that it will hit the y-intercept at the origin. But because the number is 0, we learn that whenever you don't see the number, if the number is invisible, we can assume that that number is 0. So our equation for letter B is simply y equals 4x. Now, if you write y equals 4x plus 0, I'm not going to count it wrong, but you've got to understand that if there's nothing after the x, we already know that the y-intercept is 0, so you can simply write y equals 4x. So this is getting you warmed up. I'm going to stop the video. When we come back, I'm going to show you how to write the equation of a line given the graph.